We assume the map of the United States was drawn logically, a massive planned grid organized by careful surveyors. But look closely at the shapes of these states. They are erratic, crooked, and completely irrational. The chaos started in the 1600s with English monarchs like King James I. They sat in London and confidently signed away pieces of a continent they had never seen, without accurate maps. The result was the Sea-to-Sea Charter. The Crown granted colonies like Virginia, Massachusetts, and Connecticut continuous land strips stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. Because these wide grants crossed over each other, the same ground was legally owned 4 times over. The modern map is simply the aftermath of a 250-year struggle to clean up this original mathematical disaster. The most famous dividing line in the country originated from a petty property dispute. The Penn family of Pennsylvania and the Calvert family of Maryland both claimed the exact same strip of farmland. Settlers spent 80 years fighting with guns and torches over who legally owned the dirt. The violence exhausted the British Crown. King George II eventually ordered both families to hire independent surveyors and accept a permanent mathematical boundary. They hired Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon, who spent 4 brutal years dragging chains and telescopes through the American wilderness to plot an exact latitude line. To ensure the boundary was permanent, they placed massive limestone markers, custom carved in England with the family's coats of arms, every single mile along the route. Mason and Dixon were strictly there to settle a wealthy family's real estate squabble. They had no idea their survey would later become the ideological dividing line between free and slave states. The founders often used rivers as state borders. They were massive, visible, and seemed entirely permanent. Then the New Madrid earthquake struck in the winter of 1811. They were the most powerful seismic events in recorded North American history. The ground fractured, forests sank, the Mississippi River temporarily flowed backward. When the tremors finally stopped, the Mississippi River had carved a completely new path, creating a massive loop that abandoned its original channel. Because the legal border was tied to the old riverbank, a piece of land known as Kentucky Bend was left completely stranded. It sits on the wrong side of the water, totally cut off from the rest of Kentucky. The physical planet changed its shape, but the legal text did not. The boundary remains exactly where the river used to be. This document is the handwritten 1820 resolution for the Missouri Compromise. It admitted Missouri as a slave state, but established a strict mathematical rule for the future. Slavery was banned in any new territory north of the 36-degree 30-minute latitude line. This 1840s map shows the original Republic of Texas. When Texas petitioned to join the United States, it brought an enormous amount of land that stretched far north of that 3630 slavery ban line. Forced to choose, Texas chopped off its northern territory to keep its enslaved population. They surrendered a strip of land 167 miles long to the federal government, who promptly lost track of it. Over the next few decades, Kansas, Colorado, and New Mexico drew their borders right up to its edges. This floating rectangle was completely sealed off, belonging to no state or territory. For 40 years, it had no laws, no courts, and no sheriffs. Outlaws and fugitives poured in. Congress eventually attached it to the territory below it. The Oklahoma Panhandle exists today as a perfectly preserved mathematical artifact of slavery. As the United States expanded west of the Missouri River, Congress stopped relying on natural geography entirely. They started drawing pristine latitude and longitude lines on blank paper maps in Washington. But the people actually walking the ground had imprecise 1800 survey tools. The famous Four Corners Monument, where Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona meet, is located 1,800 feet away from the true mathematical intersection Congress intended. In Minnesota, diplomats used a wildly inaccurate map to negotiate the border with Canada. They accidentally drafted a treaty that placed a tiny notch of American land north of the 49th parallel, completely isolated in a lake. That notch is the northwest angle. Today, American citizens living there have to drive into Canada, clear customs, and drive back into the United States just to reach the rest of their own state. Once a surveyor drives a stake into the dirt, the Supreme Court rarely moves it. The physical mistake becomes the permanent law. Look at the map of the United States one more time. Those clean geometric rectangles and smooth curves are hiding a brutal history. They conceal family feuds, violent tectonic shifts, the rigid math of human bondage, and the hubris of bad surveyors. The men who dragged chains through the woods or signed treaties in European palaces could never have predicted the centuries of legal and cultural consequences they were inflicting on the people who would eventually live on either side of the lines. All of these lines serve as a massive ledger of human accidents and compromises, recorded directly onto the earth. The borders of the United States are the physical scar tissue of American history.
Where some US state borders shift by surveying mistake instead of careful planning. So please guys, answer my question. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye and take care. And this question literally very easy and very simple. So answer this my question, and first of all, thank you so much for watching this my video. So goodbye and take care.